1. Ignition and liftoff of Ares 1X.
You know, I read something last night that made me kind of uncomfortable. We might be trapping ourselves here on Earth. The reason? Garbage, apparently.
Yo 15, deploy confirmed.
Right now, orbiting above your head, there are 27,000 pieces of debris we're tracking, and about 500,000 we aren't. Old satellites, spent rocket stages, fragments from collisions that happened decades ago and never came down. Everything we've ever sent up there that we didn't bother to bring back.
I was wondering, how fast do you think it's moving?
28,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, a fragment the size of a marble hits with the force of a hand grenade. Not a big marble, a regular marble, the kind you played with as a kid.
Wow, that's an uncomfortable thing to know.
It gets more uncomfortable than that. In 1978, a NASA scientist named Donald Kessler described a scenario nobody wanted to take seriously at the time. He called it collisional cascading. The idea is straightforward. Two objects collide in orbit. That collision doesn't just destroy both objects. It shatters them into hundreds of new fragments, each one now traveling at orbital velocity in slightly different directions. Those fragments spread across the orbital shell. The debris density increases, which increases the probability of more collisions, which create more fragments, which cause more collisions.
So there's no natural way to stop it once it starts?
Nothing up there to slow it down. No air resistance, no friction. Objects in low Earth orbit can stay up there for decades. Objects higher up, centuries. The cascade, once it starts in a given orbital band, becomes self-sustaining. You don't need a war to trigger it. You don't need a catastrophe. You just need enough stuff in the same place for long enough. This specific scenario has a name, and it's called Kessler Syndrome.
And nobody took Donald Kessler seriously in 1978?
People thought different back then. The idea that you could fill it up seemed almost absurd.
So where does that leave us now?
Some scientists believe we've already crossed the threshold in certain orbital bands. Not approaching it. Past it. In low Earth orbit, roughly 200 to 2,000 kilometers up, the debris density in some shells may already be high enough that a slow cascade is technically underway. We just can't see it clearly yet, because it's happening gradually. What makes it hard to respond to is that there's no single moment of obvious failure. No alarm going off, just a slow accumulation that one day crosses a line we may not recognize until we're already past it.
But does this affect us down here on Earth too, or is it just in space?
Yes, it affects GPS satellites, weather satellites, the communications infrastructure handling internet, phone calls, banking, all clustered in the exact orbital bands that are most congested. If a GPS satellite takes a hit from debris, best case it stops working and gets replaced. Worst case, the collision generates a debris field in the exact orbital slot it was using, making it harder to safely put anything back in the same position. Stack enough of those scenarios together, and GPS coverage starts degrading.
So I was wondering, how bad does it actually get if the GPS goes down?
Navigation for commercial shipping and aviation loses precision. Precision agriculture, which uses GPS signals to guide planting, irrigation, and harvesting, becomes unreliable. Emergency response systems lose accuracy. And here's one most people have never heard. every major stock exchange in the world uses GPS time signals to synchronize financial transactions. The timestamps that prevent transactions from being processed out of order or duplicated.
Holy shit. I did not know that. That seems really serious.
Most people don't. Power grids use the same synchronization to balance electricity distribution across networks. It's one of those dependencies that's completely invisible until it stops working.
Okay, so who's actually responsible for preventing these kind of things?
That's where it gets complicated. The foundational legal document governing human activity in space is the Outer Space Treaty, signed in 1967, 2 years before the first moon landing, at a time when the entire human presence in orbit was a handful of satellites and 2 competing space programs. The treaty establishes that no country can claim sovereignty over space, that exploration should benefit all of humanity. Solid principles for 1967.
Well, it sounds like this was written before any of this was a problem.
It says almost nothing about debris, because in 1967, nobody had considered that debris would ever be a problem. Space was infinite. Why would it fill up? The closest thing we have to debris regulation is a set of guidelines issued by the UN in 2002, recommending that satellites be deorbited within 25 years of their mission ending.
Okay, that sounds reasonable actually. Is it working?
Compliance is around 30%, meaning roughly 7 in 10 decommissioned satellites are left in orbit when their mission ends. The fundamental problem is that orbit is a shared resource with no owner and no regulator. Every country and every company launches into the same shells. Nobody is legally required to clean up what they leave behind. Nobody has the authority to make them.
So, is anyone actually doing something about this, or are we just hoping it works itself out?
A few approaches are being tested. A Japanese company called Scale has been running active debris removal missions designed to approach and capture defunct satellites. They've demonstrated the ability to match orbits with a target, which is harder than it sounds, because you're essentially chasing something traveling at 28,000 kilometers per hour in a precise curved path around the planet, and make physical contact.
Yeah, well, so how do you actually grab it then? It seems almost impossible.
For satellites built with a magnetic docking plate, magnetically. Scale has been working to get that plate included as a standard component in new satellite designs, which would make future removal much more straightforward. For everything already up there without one, which is most of it, it's harder. Nets have been tested, harpoons, robotic arms. The European Space Agency has a mission called Clear Space, one designed to capture a single piece of debris using a 4-armed robotic system.
Damn, we are doomed then, because that sounds expensive for just one piece of debris.
It is. And that's the core problem. These missions are technically complex and capture one object per mission. We're talking about 500,000 untracked objects. The math doesn't work at that scale yet. There's also ground-based lasers. By heating one side of a small debris fragment slightly, you create a tiny amount of thrust that nudges it into a lower orbit, where atmospheric drag eventually pulls it in and burns it up. It works. It's been tested. The challenge is doing it fast enough to actually reduce the debris population, rather than just slow its growth.
Okay, so the technology is there, just not at the right scale.
The technology is ahead of the policy. You can have the best debris removal system in the world, but if launching companies aren't required to deorbit their satellites, and no international body has the authority to enforce that, the removal missions are just keeping pace with the problem rather than solving it.
So, how long have we actually known about this?
Kessler published his paper in 1978. NASA formalized debris tracking in the 1980s. The UN issued its voluntary guidelines in 2002. The ESA declared orbital debris a crisis requiring urgent action in 2019. Compliance is still at 30%.
Yeah, but what actually needs to be changed for this to get better? I mean, isn't someone working on this?
3 things, according to most experts working on this. Binding international regulation with real enforcement, not voluntary guidelines. Active debris removal, scaled up from individual missions to something resembling an industrial operation. And satellites designed from the start with deorbiting built into the mission, not added as an afterthought. The technology for all 3 exists or is close. The political and economic will is the variable.
What does the timeline look like? Like, how long do we actually have?
Most researchers put the critical window at 10 to 20 years for the most congested shells. After that point, the cascade dynamics in those bands may be too far along to reverse, regardless of what we do. The orbits don't disappear. They just become too dangerous to operate in reliably. The infrastructure your entire world runs on is floating in a place nobody owns, nobody governs, and nobody is required to protect.